You know, there are a lot of parallels, I feel like, to this season and last season, right? It's like for the Ravens this year, it's like the same as last season, right? Like some there's been some weird struggles during games. There's been some problems finishing games, except you got health on your side. But also, when you look at the rest of the league, there's also some parallels, right? Anybody can beat anybody. So what does that mean? Does that mean the Ravens could go on a run? It's possible, but of course, you got to finish out the season. But at the same time, you gotta find a way to get the ball rolling. All right, what is going on, good people? Back at it again. Ravens versus Jaguars preview right here on Flock Nation Speaks. Man, this is probably gonna be a pretty short preview, but with all the holidays and everything, it's been a little crazy. It's been running all over the place, but nonetheless, back at it again. Ravens Jaguars preview, and I think it's the Ravens flock. We definitely hope the Ravens show up a little bit more cohesively than they did last week, especially on the offensive end. It feels like the defense is starting to really find their way. The offense, you never know. Yeah, week to week, it's just like the league, right? Week to week, you never know what you're gonna get. The Ravens offense is the same way. It's weeks where everything can go exactly as planned, and it's weeks where nothing goes exactly as planned. But real quick, question of the day. Gonna stick with the Thanksgiving theme, as Thanksgiving just passed, and I know y'all still probably eating on the leftovers. So I'm gonna go twofold. I'm gonna go twofold on this one. First things first. First things first. What did you eat more of, right? Turkey or ham? Turkey or ham. And you can kind of go with what your preference is too. But for me, I know I ate more ham than I did turkey. That turkey be dry. I mean, it could be probably the best chef in the world, and I don't know if I will ever taste a non-dry turkey, because turkey is just one of the it just dries out so quick. It's like, I think it's naturally dry. Like I think the turkeys forgot to put the lotion on. Right? It's just it's ridiculous, right? They ain't moisturized. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not. The turkeys is dry. The turkeys is dry. They ass shit. But definitely ham, right? Definitely ham. I think I even prefer ham over turkey. Just for that reason. Like, you gotta have the gravy on it. You gotta like turkey. You gotta doctor that thing up, man. You gotta either deep fry it, because it's not as dry if you deep fry it, or you got to come out here and you got to doctor that thing up. You got to throw the gravy on there. If you like the cranberry sauce and all that, you got to throw that with it. You got to throw the stuffing in there. You got to eat the stuffing while you eating the turkey, while it's dipped in literally like dumped in the gravy, like buried in the gravy. Like, you got to really get the turkey going. You really do. Right? You really do. I'm gonna save my second fold question for when the Christmas season come around. So I can have a food question for the Christmas season, maybe. But nonetheless, let's talk about this Ravens Jaguars preview. Appreciate everybody coming by. Whoever's here, whoever's there, appreciate you coming by. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thinking going into this week with Ravens Jaguars. If you're a fan of another team, what you think your team gonna do? Whatever you think, leave it in the comments. But let's talk about these Ravens and the Jaguars. It's such an interesting season this year, right? Like it's kind of and it's nice in a way, but sometimes I think for fans it gets a little frustrating, because you just never know what you're gonna get out of your team, and in particular. And the Ravens going up against the Jags, this should be work trip, put it on the work Amex, right? And go ahead and take care of business and head on home, right? This should be one of those games where the Ravens blow out the Jaguars. They force Trevor Lawrence, to play young as he is, and especially with a defense as good as the Ravens is, turn him over a couple times, right? Move the ball on offense, and this should be light work per se, in terms of on paper, but We know games are never played on paper. So what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? I don't. I can't. I don't know if I'm going to be able to comfortably say that the Ravens are going to blow out anybody for the rest of the season, right? Because every time I say it, I feel like I eat my words every single week because the offense is one of the most inconsistent things I've ever seen in my life. There's times when they can't move the ball. There's times when play calling is bad. There's times when execution is bad. There's times when there's drops after drops after drops. There's times when the personnel don't match what you probably should be playing. There's times when the personnel don't match the defense on the field. You don't know what you're gonna get from this offense, and this should be the time. This stretch of games, this last stretch of games, should be the time where the Ravens finally find their offensive momentum. There's no more Rashad Bateman, right? There's no, like, regardless of what people want to say about Rashad Bateman and is he a number one, ain't he a number one, whatever. Like, Rashad Bateman was literally taken away at number one corner regardless, right? Like, whether he was performing or not performing, right? As long as he was on the field, he was taking away a top receiver, which was opening up things for Duvernay, which was opening up things for Demarcus Robinson and these guys, right? So does Demarcus Robinson move into that slot because of last week? And what did he have, 9 catches last week? I think he's had another game this season where he's had 10 catches or something like that, or it was 7 to 10, something like that, where he had a high catch volume that game. And does he kind of become the guy that gets open and forces the defense to kind of shift to him a little bit with Mark Andrews out there? You know, that's a good question, right? That's a good question. And I don't know, it's weird, man. The state of this offense is really weird. Like, it's really weird because it's frustrating because I feel like Greg Roman has been given everything that Greg Roman needs to be successful. Right? You know that worker, right? You know that worker, that worker that literally, this dude, you could clear off traffic for him. You can make sure he got a pen every day, make sure he got a pencil every day, make sure his computer is on every day, and he's still gonna be late and he's still gonna drag his feet when it comes to turn the computer on. Like, this is Greg Roman right now. You have more tight ends on the roster than you have wide receivers on the roster, which of course lets you run your offense. And for whatever crazy reason, you don't really seem like you can get the tight ends involved, right? Mark Andrews is about the only one. Likely gets involved sometimes, right? We ain't really seen Charlie Kolar yet. Josh Oliver gets him involved sometimes, right? Like, that's the crazy part to me. Greg Roman has everything at his disposal, and he still can't make it work right now. Now, like I said before, like I said in my recap of the Panthers Ravens game and the offensive struggles. To be fair, the Ravens are missing their top 2 running backs, and they're starting a guy who literally, and I don't even want to say starting because Justice Hill don't necessarily start, but Justice Hill gets some quality carries considering he's a guy who couldn't hit the field with other with a plethora of other running backs out there, right? So, to be fair, right, you are on your 3rd string running back, and of course, with Kenyon Drake out there too, and Kenyon Drake is up and down, right? You never know what you're gonna get out of Kenyon Drake. He either gonna break out or do nothing like that. Like, there ain't no in between with Kenyon Drake. He gonna break out, he gonna do nothing. That's it, right? So, with the injury bug still hitting the Ravens right now, and waiting on the running backs to be actually healthy for once, throughout this season, because I think they played like a total of 3 games between Gus and JK this year, and it's crazy. And I know they're trying to slow it down and see what happens, but you just never know, especially with this team. So, to be fair, you're on your 3rd string running back. Are you going to really be able to efficiently pass the ball with no true running game? Probably not, right? So for me, that at least gives a little bit more of a nod to the playoffs, that maybe once you get your guys back, you can kind of pick up some steam and do what you got to do. Because the Ravens are going to be at the top of the AFC. I don't know if they'll be the number 1 seed, because the way they're playing right now, they're going to drop one of these games, right? Unless they just turn it on tomorrow and never look back. they're going to drop one of these games. And the issue is, right, you got the Bills who are still finding ways to win whether they're playing well or not. The Chiefs are playing well right now. And they're both of those teams are ahead of the Ravens, and actually the Ravens are the 4th seed right now. So I'm missing the other division leader. So if it's Chiefs, Bills, who's leading us out? Who's leading us out? Oh, the Titans. The Titans. I'm tripping. Chiefs, and I feel like the Titans are bound to. But the Titans are such a weird team too, right? That's the parallels that I draw with the Ravens and the Titans. The Titans are a run first team, but they can get the passing game going. Well, and partly because they can lean on the run game. But even just going back to the Ravens Jaguars game that I'm previewing right now, like it's just a weird game, right? Long story short, it's a weird game because you go into Jacksonville, the offense has been sluggish. Now, albeit I guess I'll you could blame the bye week if you want, whatever. The offense has been sluggish, just has. So with the offense being sluggish, what do you do, right? What do you do? Find a way to get the offense going. I want to see more Demarcus Robinson. I want to see more of, uh, you know, all of these guys. If Deshaun Jackson plays this week, I want to see more of him, right? It's tough, because this is kind of the moment of the season too where you see if Greg Roman can make adjustments. Last week he didn't really do a good job offensively at making adjustments, and that was against the Panthers. So imagine what happens in the playoffs against the Bills. What happens in the playoffs against the Chiefs? And the thing is, the crazy part is like the Ravens can compete with anybody, right? Like we've seen it time and time again. The leagues they've blown, the teams they've beaten, regardless, they've been able to compete with everybody. And there's no dominant team in the league right now. On the bright side, right? There is no dominant team in the league right now. The Eagles look less like they did before. The Chiefs look good, but the Chiefs are only seen as the top seed in the AFC because they've been there, done that before, not necessarily because they're dominant right now. The Bills are getting in their own way, right? Like the Cowboys, they look like they're always an accident waiting to happen, so you never know what's going to happen. So, and I mean, that's on the other side of things, but still, like, talking about dominance, nobody's dominant right now. The Titans aren't dominant either. They also look like an accident waiting to happen, right? Like nobody's dominant right now. That's the thing. Nobody is dominant right at this moment. So if the Ravens want to go on a run, this is the time to do it because nobody is, anybody can beat anybody right now, right? The 7 seed can come in and make the Super Bowl. Let's just be honest, because anybody can beat anybody because the 7 seed might be the dang on Bengals, right? And we know once Chase gets back and that team can go on a run. They just can't, right? If the Chargers somehow sneak in there, which I feel like they won't, but if they somehow sneak in there, they'll be a tough out, right? So, but I mean, the Ravens should go into Jacksonville and take care of business this week, right? They should mark this off as a business expense, write off on their taxes, and head on back home. Like that's how it should go. But considering how this season has went, I don't expect nothing easy from the Ravens this year, right? I just don't. I don't expect anything easy from the Ravens this year. But like I said, week after week, what I want to see from the Ravens, number one, is a clean game from the offensive side, and given the defense and no penalties and stuff like that, right? Or limited penalties. I know no penalties is tough, limited penalties. And on the defensive side, turn them over. Get you a touchdown this week. All right. This is a good week to get you a touchdown. It's a good week to run one back. Right. So, defensively, keys to the game, turnovers, which I think you can just expect at this point from the Ravens defense. Get after Trevor Lawrence, turn him over, give the offense, some good field position. And then the offense has got to find a way to adjust by hook or by crook. If that's a screen, even though you rarely run them, run a screen, right? If that's, yards after catch, get the yards after catch, right? If that's utilizing Lamar a little bit more in the run game to open up the rest of your offense, that's what you got to do. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to predict another blowout. I think the Ravens will take care of business against the Jaguars, but I'm not going to hold myself to it or hold my breath from what I've seen this season. But, as always, definitely you can always watch or listen to Flock Nation Speaks on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Anchor, etc., etc. Like I said them all. I think that was it. Google Podcasts, I think too. So be sure to check out Flock Nation Speaks on all of those platforms. I'll be back in my normal place next week, so hopefully won't be as rushed, won't be as fast, but it's weird. It's a weird season once again. On the bright side, considering the Ravens have been inconsistent this season, nobody's been consistent this season, right? I mean, the Dolphins have kind of been consistent, but their defense is terrible. So, with Tua, they've kind of been consistent, but the defense is terrible. And also, I question if teams have forced Tua, because I don't watch every Dolphins game, but have teams forced Tua to do what he can't do, or do what he can't do as well? Because I mean, have they forced him to throw it deep? Right. I mean, I know Tyreek Hill bails him out a lot because, Tyreek Hill is just aggressive going after the football. So it just makes me wonder, the Dolphins of course are good. There's good teams, but nobody's dominant right now. Right. Everybody has their weaknesses. And the OBJ thing also comes into play. Who does OBJ sign with, and how much does that change what happens to? Right. Apparently, there's a chance with the Ravens are in those talks. I think it would change the entire offense. We've seen what the Ravens have done with I personally think Bateman's the number one receiver with a number one guy, right? Or with a guy who's at least able to play well against top corners, get open against top corners, right? We've seen how much that's opened up for Duvernay. We've seen how much that's opened up for a guy like Demarcus Robinson. We've seen how much that's opened up for even just Mark Andrews, and Isaiah Likely. So, I've heard a lot of people say, do what you got to do to grab Odell, and I agree. Do what you got to do to grab Odell. And, because I think Odell could be a game changer because, and I say this a lot, Odell could be a game changer because he's Odell until proven otherwise, right? He is that guy until proven otherwise. And just last season, we act like he wasn't cooking defenders anyway, right? Like he wasn't making big plays anyway. I know he's coming off an ACL. That's kind of tough, but if you're the Ravens, what the heck do you have to lose, right? Out of everybody, what do you have to lose? Nothing, right? You don't have anything to lose. You're signing 35-year-old wide receivers and undrafted free agents, and right, got guys who are just hanging out waiting for a phone call, right? Like they might grab Martavis Bryant off of he's not in the CFL. He's in like an arena league or something, I think. But right, they might try to grab Martavis Bryant at this point. Like you just never know with the Ravens, right? But we'll see. We'll see. And as that develops, of course, I'll be back to talk a little bit more about it. Could be interesting, man. Could be interesting to see. I just think just how this offense changes, because I mean we've seen it. The offense looked its best when Bateman was on the field, right? There's a correlation to that. I think like there has to be a correlation to the fact that you got a guy I have to respect on, at the wide receiver position, and once again going back to it as well, even just last season, right? Having Bateman and Hollywood on the field at the same time, the offense was just much better. The passing game was a better passing game because you had that talent on the field. And now you have kind of a lack of talent, or a lack of proven talent, I like to say. And we're seeing that his offense is sputtering because you're hoping that Lamar can create magic. But the issue is everybody's looking at Lamar. Everybody's defending Lamar. Before I defend anybody else, I'm going to defend Lamar. Let's be honest. Before I defend Mark Andrews, I'm going to defend Lamar. Right? So, and that's the biggest thing. So we'll see what happens, though. We'll see what happens. But as always, definitely thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in. I definitely hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you go over there to Spotify or Anchor or any of the audio platforms and take a listen if you haven't already, or, add the show to your favorites, whatever you do. But definitely hope you guys enjoy. We'll see you guys on the next one. I think the Ravens win big against the Jaguars. I haven't been good about this pick this year, but we'll see. Until